My name is Chase McDonald. I am the Assistant State Engineer over the Adjudication Program with the Division of Water Rights. The Division of Water Rights is also, it's synonymous with the State Engineer's Office, so I may use those interchangeably. But tonight we're here to talk about the list of unclaimed rights, which we published 2 weeks ago with the 7th District Court. I have some staff here. We are recording the meeting. We are live streaming this on the internet. And so I ask that we hold questions to the end. We'll do some Q&A on the recording, and then myself and my staff will stick around as long as we need to afterward to answer any questions that any of you may have. Okay. We also have a member of the Attorney General's office here with us if there are certain questions that we need to defer to him. So tonight, what we're going to talk about, I'm going to go over the adjudication process. We're already established about halfway through this process. I'm going to talk about what the list of unclaimed rights is. I'll show you how to access that list. I'll talk through each portion or each section of that document and show you how to find information, what information is in there. We'll talk about the timeline for the remaining work to be done in the adjudication, and then we'll open it up for questions. So this is the Eastland subdivision specifically that we're talking about is the area outlined there. So out east of where we're at now. In this area, on the records of the state engineer, there were 134 water rights on our records. And there were also 359 landowners that we notified. And on this list of unclaimed rights, there are 28 water rights on that list. We'll talk through what that means in a little bit here. So here's a graphic that represents the adjudication process. So this process is defined in state law. Okay, so it's Title 73, Chapter 4 of the Utah Code. Talks this process start to finish. So what we're doing is carrying out the state engineer's statutory duty of adjudicating water rights in the state. Okay, specifically in this case, the Eastland subdivision. So we kind of, for ease of trying to help people understand, we kind of divided into 3 phases. The summons and notice to file claims, it usually starts with, an adjudication starts with a petition, either from water users or the state engineer to a court. We send out a notice of commencement. We send out summons to everybody because in essence, an adjudication is a court action. Okay, it's an action in the district court. So we send out summons and then we hold a public meeting. That's not this one. We've already held that one. And we send out notice to file claims. Everybody in the area has 90 days to file their claims. Any water rights that are not claimed go on that list of unclaimed rights that we're here to talk about today. So what we've done so far, that first phase is complete. 2 weeks ago, we published the list of unclaimed rights. So now we are in number 7 there. We are in that 90-day window to file an objection, and we'll talk you through how to file an objection if you need to do so. And number 8 right there, that's us, the second public meeting. Okay, so the next step, we're going to do a final summons, because as I discussed, we sent notice out to all water right owners and all property owners because we want to make sure everybody who may have a water right to claim is involved. Okay, we want to get the word out. We want to be transparent, let everybody know what we're doing, and give everybody a chance to participate. So this final summons, after we publish the list of unclaimed rights, we search all the records again and try to find anybody that we may have missed. You know, if somebody moved in afterward, that's an example of somebody that we may have missed the first time. We also publish that final summons in the newspaper once a week for 5 weeks to say, hey, if anybody else is out there that has not participated, please contact us and we'll let you know what you need to do to participate in this adjudication. Once that's all done and we have resolved all the objections that have been filed, we will motion the court to get a decree on that list of unclaimed rights. The important thing to know about that is once that list of unclaimed rights is decreed, all diligence-based rights are barred from being claimed in the future. And that doesn't mean that you can never get a water right. That just means that any rights that were grandfathered in from because they existed and were created prior to water laws coming on the books in Utah, those can no longer be claimed. Okay, so in this area, it's still open to new appropriations, so people can get new water rights with some limitations. So then that brings us to phase 3. We are actively investigating the claims that we've received. This involves getting in touch with the water user, going out and doing a field review of the claim, seeing where it's used, how it's used, what the source of water are, things like that. Once we evaluate all the claims in the area, we will produce state engineers' recommendations, which is our recommendation to the court. We send those out to you before we publish them. But we do our evaluation, we put together a recommendation and send that out to the water user. Once all the water rights are evaluated, we put all those together in a book called the Proposed Determination that we submit to the court. And that is us saying, hey, the state engineer's office has evaluated all these water rights. Here's our proposal for how these water rights should be determined. Okay. And then there's another 90-day period where anybody who thinks we got it wrong can object, and we'll work through those. We'll come out again and do another public meeting to say, hey, here's what we've done so far. Here's how you object if you need to object, and here's what to look forward to. Okay, and then once all those objections on the proposed determination are resolved, we'll motion the court to decree the rights in the proposed determination. Okay, so that's the adjudication process in a nutshell. Like I said, we're at least on our graphic here about halfway through the process, but what we've done, to summarize, we sent out notice to everybody saying, hey, here's what we're doing. We had a public meeting saying, hey, here's what we're doing. We sent out summons to everybody. We've received a bunch of claims. We are evaluating those claims, and then we'll make our recommendation to the court. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual list of unclaimed rights. It has 6 different sections, and I'll show you each of those, talk through what is in each of those, and then I'll show you how to access that. So first is the title page. It has the district court listed at the top. This one is in the 7th Judicial District Court in and for Grand County. It's located in Moab. It has the description of the general adjudication. It has the judge and the civil number, the hydrologic division and subdivision, and then an area number and a book number that we use to just to kind of index it. It's area 09, book number 3. Okay. The next page is a notice to water users, essentially saying, hey, here's what's going on. The list of unclaimed rights has been published. The really important part for this page, and maybe the most important part of the list of unclaimed rights, is this second paragraph here. That includes instructions on how to file an objection with the district court if there is a water right on this list that you think you have claim to. Okay. The important thing with that, essentially what it says is you need to file a written objection with the district court, and you need to file a claim that is attached to that objection. So you need to file that with the court and file that with the state engineer's office. Okay. So, and if you have questions on that, we do want to help you. Feel free to contact our office. Since this is an objection that will go through the court, we have representatives from the Attorney General's office that can help you understand what needs to take place and what you need to do to file this objection. So the next section is the preamble, which basically gives all the background information. Number one there, it's probably pretty small for you to read, but number one just describes the geographic area. Number two talks about the history of how this adjudication came to be, which in this case, there was a petition filed by water users on Oak Creek. They petitioned the state engineer saying, hey, we want you to do an adjudication and determine what the water rights are in this area. Then in 1957, water users from Boulder Creek and Deer Creek also petitioned the state engineer saying, hey, please come adjudicate our water rights and determine our water rights. So then in 1957, the state engineer filed a petition to the district court saying, hey, we've received requests to go out and adjudicate these rights. We would like to do so. And the district court then issued an order opening the general adjudication, of which the Eastland subdivision is a part of. Okay. So then the actual list of unclaimed rights, and it's a self-explanatory name. It is just a list of water rights that were on the records of the state engineer that nobody filed a claim on. Okay, so it's just a list of water rights that we didn't receive a claim on. So there's the water right number on the list. There's a location of the point of diversion where the water is pulled from the natural system and a description of the source. So in this case, the one I have highlighted is an underground water well, and it has the owner's name on there. Keep in mind that the state engineer's office is not the official office of record for title of water rights. That's actually the county recorder's office. So sometimes our records are out of date. So if you have a water right either on this list or on our records and it doesn't show your name, it may just be that you need to update title with our office, and we're more than happy to help you out with that. There aren't very many water rights on this list. There's only 28, but we still include an alphabetic index that lists all the owners of record. So like I said, these are the owners on our records. They may be out of date, but it lists everybody's name alphabetically with the source, the water right number, and what page that water right can be found on in the list of unclaimed rights. Okay. So how do you access the list of unclaimed rights? Well, we did send a letter out that has a web address that you can type in and access it on the internet. We sent that notice to all water right owners on our records, to all property owners, all registered agents, and any counsel of record who filed an appearance with the court. Okay, so we sent it to everybody that we're aware of that is, of interest in this area. The list of unclaimed rights can be found on our website. You can come to our office, either the Price office or Salt Lake City, and we can print you a physical copy for a nominal fee, or it was filed with the district court, so you can access it with the district court. Real quick, I'm going to deviate from my slideshow. So you can't see this screen, but I'm just clicking that link and it pulls up the list of unclaimed rights on our website, or it's a link from our website to the list of unclaimed rights. And so, like I said, there's the title page, there's the table of contents. If you keep going down, there's that notice to water users page, the preamble, the location map, and then the actual list of unclaimed rights are there, and then the alphabetic index at the end.
Sorry, I missed all of the 17 steps. Can you show me from this page here how to get to that?
Oh, I didn't do that. I can show at the end. You can. You don't have to. I'll get to the end here, and then I'll jump into that. Okay. But all I did is click that link, and it pulled that up. So, but I will show that here in a little bit. So our timeline, October and November, we're conducting that final summons. So it'll be published in the newspaper once a week for 5 weeks. We've also done another search of our records, trying to find anybody that we may have missed, because we really do want to be transparent. We want to include everybody that has an interest. Okay. And then we're hoping that by February 2026, our claim evaluations will be done, and we'll publish that proposed determination with the court. We'll be right back out here for another public meeting. And once we publish that proposed determination, there will be that 90-day objection period. Okay. And then we're hoping we'll see, it'll kind of depend on how many, if we get any objections and how many there are, but we're hoping that we can get those objections resolved relatively quickly and get a decree on that proposed determination sometime next year. So now we'll open it up to questions. I guess before we do that, I'll just show you how to get to that list. So this is our website. It is waterrights.utah.gov. And if any of you have any questions about any of this, that question slide has my contact information, Cash Stallings, who is the regional engineer in this area, and Skylar, who's one of my team leads. You can find contact information on our website. Please, if you have questions, contact us. We'll try to help you through it. If you can't find the list of unclaimed rights, contact us. We'll walk you through it. Anyway, so from waterrights.utah.gov, you can scroll down a little bit to adjudication here. There will be a video that kind of talks about the adjudication process. You can scroll down, and this link down here, adjudication status. And this is why I say, please call us if you can't find it, because it seems a little nested. That's also why we include that link. I think typing that in is probably a little bit easier. But from the adjudication status page, we scroll down here to the Southeastern Colorado River, Eastland Subdivision right here. If you click that, it pulls this up. And here you can see all of the history. You can look at the petition filed by the state engineer to the district court. You can see the court order. You can see the amended court order, what judge issued that order. So that's all the background judicial actions that were taken. Here is like the summons packet that we mailed out to you. There's a copy of that linked here. My slides that I just presented are right here under next to LUR is list of unclaimed rights, public meeting dates. So you can access the slides I just walked you through there. The list of unclaimed rights is right here, and you just click this little icon right here, and it'll pull it up right there, and you can look through it. So now that I've talked through that, we'll do a little Q&A. What I ask for the Q&A, and you're welcome to take a picture of this, write our information down, whatever. But what I ask for the Q&A is if you have specific questions about your water right, your property, your situation, hold those until we close out the meeting. Like I said, I will stick around, my staff will stick around, come find us, and we'll stay as long as we need to or until they kick us out to answer your questions, okay? Are there any questions at this point about just the process in general? Just general questions? Yes, sir.
So what's the rush on all this? I mean, this is done past like last a couple of years. I'm kind of a connect the dots guy.
Yeah.
And then boom, 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 boom. What's going on with, is this a potash thing out here we got going on?
Okay, so, and I'm going to repeat the question for those online. So the question is, what's the rush and why now, basically? Does it have anything to do with the potash? I'm not even sure what that is, if I'm being honest, but believe it or not, everywhere we go in the state, we have adjudications going on in most areas of the state. And everywhere we go, somebody's like, oh, does this have to do with this thing? And it's really not. So as I mentioned, the petition was filed for this adjudication back in 1957, 56 and 57. So we've been adjudicating this area for a long time, but as you can imagine, if we try to look at all the water rights in the southeastern Utah region, it's going to take us forever. So the legislature passed a law that says we can make divisions and subdivisions. So we just are taking it piecewise. So I guess it's not a great answer, but the best answer to your question is it's just interesting timing. You know, it's not like a rush, like, oh, we got to get out here and do this because of something. We were petitioned to do it. There's a lot of work, a lot of areas that we need to adjudicate, and it's your turn, I guess.
But there's nothing to do with Lake Powell, below 30% capacity. Nothing to do with, the drainage.
No, sir. It doesn't have anything to do with Lake Powell or things like that. So what we're trying to do, I'm gonna kind of I'll answer your question, but I'll explain a little bit beyond your question. What we're trying to do with adjudication is when Utah became a state, it basically said, okay, all water rights are hereby recognized and confirmed. It didn't quantify any of them. It didn't require people to bring them on the record. It created adjudication, the adjudication program, and said, okay, adjudication is going to be the means to bring all these pre-statutory is what we call them, these water uses that were grandfathered in. Adjudication is going to be the means to bring those on the record. So it's been going on since Utah became a state. And obviously it's important. We need to know how much water we have, which entities like USGS do a lot of studies on water supply and groundwater supply. And then we need to know how much we're using. Because if we don't know either that, we can deplete the groundwater resource. I was talking to this gentleman, I won't say your name just because we're broadcasting, but we were talking about issues out in Texas and other areas where there's massive groundwater subsidence and things like that. And that's partly because they didn't create, either they were too late or didn't create accurate water budgets. So it's not in response to Lake Powell. It's not an overreaction to anything like that. It's been ongoing, and it is important for us to know how much water we have and where it's going so that we can protect the public resource.
Like the Ogallala Aquifer.
Like the Ogallala Aquifer, yeah. Sir, you had a question?
Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, excellent. Any other general questions about the adjudication or the list of unclaimed rights? Yes, sir.
You mentioned that this study, the hospital, where it was very back when. Now the marbles was probably in 2005. So I always assumed I already had the rights because I had the permission. I thought everything was in the records. So you think my name should be on the list here? Or?
Okay, so the question is, he said he had a well drilled in 2005 and he had paid an application fee and done everything above board and by the book. Should his right be on this list? Not necessarily. Something I failed to mention earlier, we only adjudicate what we call perfected water rights. So that's a decreed water right or a diligence claim based on pre-statutory use, or someone files an application to appropriate, files a proof of beneficial use with our office and gets a certificate. Then it becomes perfected. The reason I bring that up is if someone has, and I'm not sure, we can look yours up when we close the meeting and see what situation you're in, but it doesn't make sense to really adjudicate what we call unperfected water rights. And what I mean by that is if in 2005 you filed an application to appropriate saying, hey, state engineer, I want to appropriate a new water right. I'm going to drill a well, but you haven't completed the project yet. It doesn't make sense to adjudicate it. We have a process in place to track that through to completion and keep that, and that is on our records. So it wouldn't be something that we adjudicate. So that's my general answer, but I'd say come find one of us after and we'd be happy to look up your property to see what situation you're in. We can pull up the list and see if there's a water right on it that you have claim to, and we can go from there. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
What do we do to all these water rights that you get? I don't know.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. I usually get that question immediately in the initial public meeting. So the question is, what do you do with all the water rights that are unclaimed or disallowed or things like that? And usually we get a response, or not a response, but a comment like, what, are you going to auction off our water rights? That is not the case at all. Okay. The state engineer and the state in general is not in the business of buying and selling water rights. In fact, if people call us and say, hey, how do I buy a water right? I say that is not our business. We are administering water rights. So with these unclaimed rights or water rights that have not been used for a long time, so in the state of Utah, water is considered a public good. Okay. So the water belongs to the public. If you have a water right, that means that you have the right to use some of that water. But if you stop using that water, somebody downstream, because it's a finite resource, becomes reliant on that water that you have not been using. So these rights that have not been claimed, they're most likely not being used anyway. So that water is already being used by other water right holders. Does that make sense? So we're not auctioning them off or anything like that. It's just the water isn't being used. Well, we could say that water right is not being used, but in reality, somebody else is reliant on that water. I'm happy to talk to you more about it afterward if you'd like. Any other questions? If not, anything online? Okay, well, then on that, we will conclude the presentation, at least the video recording, and we're happy to answer any more questions that you have. Okay. Or Cash, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'll cancel if the meeting's over.
Okay.